Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and we are in the dead of the offseason with still plenty to talk about between the Browns Stadium news, a huge interdivision trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, as well as some look ahead to potential plans for Brook Park in 2029. Before we do, Zay, how are you? How was vacation? You're back in Ohio now. How is everything going?
I'm clearly not in my right mind right now because I'm not in the studio with you and I'm fuddling with my mic and everything is just blah. But, I'm back home. Weather's still hot, so I clearly didn't miss anything. But, I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's actually been a pretty busy week in the Browns world with the Steelers trading away Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. We got some Deshaun Watson news potentially being ready even sooner than we thought after suffering a setback, as well as the official approval of the stadium moving to Brook Park. Did you see the new renderings of the stadium, Zay?
I seen the same renderings. Or is there like new ones that they put out?
They
I
put
think it's
them
the
out.
same ones.
They put them out. I want to say this was Monday or Tuesday, whenever the news dropped, and they're
I,
much more clear. My favorite thing is the top, the actual dome is clear. It makes for some of the coolest pictures and videos in football, very similar to AT&T Stadium in Dallas. But at the same time, the sun has been known to block players' views. So, I don't know. I think it looks very cool. Obviously, it's going to open up a ton of jobs, which I think is a very good thing in the Brook Park area. I know anybody who owns real estate that is west of the city is probably very happy now as well. But the stadium looks very good. I like it.
I think I like it too. I think the best part, obviously, I'm gonna gear it towards the tailgating thing. If they do the parking the right way and that little walkway up to the stadium, tailgating is gonna be a beautiful sight to see. They're gonna need to have the Goodyear blimp down there hovering around because it's gonna be epic.
It is. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully they do have a tailgate lot. We are going to talk plenty more about the stadium in a little bit here, but before we do, we want to talk about the huge trade that the Pittsburgh Steelers made, drastically improving their offense while shaking up their defense a little bit. Up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and Honor the Land is proudly sponsored by Infinity. The safety never looked this good. Test drive the Infinity QX80, the 2024 IIHS top safety pick. Safety never looked this good with a suite of standard intelligent safety features. The QX80 and IIHS top safety pick is as safe as it is luxurious. You put your family first, and so do we, with a suite of standard safety features in the 2025 QX60 and IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. It is as safe as it is luxurious, the 2025 Infinity QX60. Safe enough for your little ones. Meet your new security blanket, the 2025 QX60 and IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. The Pittsburgh Steelers dramatically changed their roster out of the blue on, I believe, Monday, trading away Minkah Fitzpatrick as well as a 7th-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Zay, initial reactions to the trade.
Well, at first I was like, "What the heck is going on?" Like you didn't get that little piece of news that they were trading away their All-Pro safety before I made the initial reaction, which was just, "Oh, here we go again." You know what I mean? Then you seen them throwing that, and I'm like, "Okay, this is kind of cool." And then they added Jonnu Smith along with it, but don't they have they? I mean, they have some pretty good tight ends right now, so I'm not gonna say it moves so much on the needle as much. It feels like I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of get a lot of crap for saying this, but it feels like past Browns teams that are giving it one last hoorah before they go ahead and tear this thing down. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of Steelers players or Steelers fans say that the roster just continues to get older, and I just think of past Browns teams where they're going and getting guys on literally their last little stretch to see if they can squeeze whatever's left out of them, and that's what it feels like the Steelers are doing. So maybe this is their last hurrah before we see them finally take a page out of the Browns book and go 4-12.
It totally could be, and I think it's a pretty clear strategy to lean into the older guys on the roster with Aaron Rodgers, Minkah Fitzpatrick being it's weird. You think of Minkah Fitzpatrick as an older guy on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's only 28. When you hit that 31 number as a safety, like we've talked about with Justin Simmons plenty of times on the show, teams tend to look at you a certain way. They tend to worry a little bit more. But Minka was one of the younger, older guys. It was a little bit weird, but a younger, older guy. And you're not necessarily displacing him with Jalen Ramsey, but making that defensive swap where Jalen Ramsey is a more physical corner who maybe the Steelers think could play a sub-package safety role, a nickel role, or a dime role. He's very physical and he's comfortable on all aspects of the field. When the initial trade happened, I'm with you, Zay. I was like, I figured Jalen Ramsey would go to a team for nothing. I was pounding the table for him to go back to LA. I figured he would go somewhere for a pick or two. And when he tweeted that video out of him going to the Steelers, it was, okay, yep, figured this would happen. And then it was Minka's now coming back to Miami, and you're like, what is going on? Why would the Steelers do this? It made absolutely no sense. The Steelers got fleeced, all this stuff. And then you see the Jonnu piece, which was reported a couple weeks ago that the Steelers were interested in him. And I think the Steelers made a very good trade. I think that's the reality of it. What they do with Jonnu Smith and his contract is very interesting because he's going to be a free agent after this year. He's only making about $4 million, at least against the cap without any guarantees. So if they want to extend him, so be it. I am a fan of this trade for the Steelers' sake if you are a Steelers fan, obviously not as a Browns fan. And I think they made a good move getting an older safety off their roster for a guy who's won at the highest level and can continue to produce in multiple situations because I didn't think Ramsey was that bad in Miami last year.
Are you? Oh, I thought you were referencing Juan Thornhill.
No. Well, that's the reality. I mean, you guys saw it. I tweeted it out. It actually blew up. One of my good friends, shout out Christian if you're watching this, he texted me, and how was Thornhill last year? And I was like, brother, I have news for you. And I'll tell you, there were some good moments while he was in Cleveland, but the infamous jog Thornhill clip is going to live rent-free in every Browns fan's head. And as I'm sure Steelers fans walk into this season in late July, early August, and start to look deeper at this roster, they're probably going to see the clip again as well. That's just the reality of it. But I do want to ask you, Zay, and this question came up in my group chats and just across Twitter. Does this move, assuming it makes the Steelers better, I think consensus is the Steelers got better as a whole, their roster from this trade. Do you think they are a better football team than the Cincinnati Bengals? Do you think those two teams line up against each other? Do you think the Steelers or the Bengals are a better team?
Well, I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better receivers. Obviously their defense is what it is. I think the Bengals have bigger problems than are they a better team? I think their front office and their players are kind of like at a heads meet. But I would probably lean towards the Bengals being better just because when you're putting up 30 points a game, that's gonna be hard to compete with. I just think we're in for the typical Steelers are gonna start out 2-3-0. There'll be this hype, and then we'll be sitting here debating on whether or not it's real or not. Because I can't just sit here and say the Steelers are a trash team because every time I do that, they go out and win 10 games and they're fighting for a playoff spot. So I think we're just right at that. If we're what's the dude's name? Iguodala. Why can't I think of his name? Max Kellerman.
Max Kellerman.
He's about to fall off a cliff this year. It's only a matter of time. Oh, that's where I'm at with the Steelers.
God, that fateful, I think, Monday Night Football game, Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots. I remember being back home watching that, and I hated the Patriots growing up. So seeing that, I was like, yep, it's going to happen. And then Tom Brady, I believe, ripped off 3 Super Bowls after that. If I'm not 3 Super Bowls in New England after that, 4 in total. But I don't know if I agree. I think the Steelers are a better team. I think their defense is elite. I think it's a top 10 defense with or without Minka. And I think their offense has enough. I think their offensive line is much improved in the sense that they've always had this talent on their roster, but they didn't get to display it last year because of injuries. I think their offensive line will be better this year because the people they wanted to play who couldn't play last year are just healthy now. I think that's the reality of it. And I think they can get elevated by Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the reality when you look at Rodgers last year, who was a better player than a lot of people give him credit for, top 10 in touchdowns, yards, all this good stuff. He can elevate a roster. He can elevate DK Metcalf. He can elevate Jonnu Smith, who you are. They have a ton of tight ends on their roster. I don't think any are as good as Jonnu Smith, but elevate Jonnu Smith, who's really just a big slot. Like that's all Jonnu Smith is. He's a big athletic slot who can help you in the run game, but Arthur Smith is going to have a lot of fun with him. Not going to say Arthur Smith is going to get this guy the football 15 times a game like he was doing in Miami, but Arthur Smith's going to get him the ball. They're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. Like, I think the Steelers holistically are a good team. The Bengals have the better offense and can score like that, but I mean, they've made a lot of offenses last year look like the greatest show on turf. And right now, two of their best front seven players straight up aren't signed. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what
TJ
their defense is going
Watt,
to look like. Yeah, TJ
get him
Watt.
out of there.
Do you think TJ Watt is going to get traded? We can finish with that. Do you think TJ Watt's going to get traded?
This is the last year on his contract, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know because it contradicts what I just talked about, how it feels like this is their one last hurrah. Like if you're gonna give it one last hurrah, you're gonna sign TJ Watt to be around for that. But like this is such a different conversation than the Myles Garrett one because Myles Garrett was actually trying to force his way out, and then TJ Watt's just kind of like, I want to get paid, and then you have to look at Myles Garrett's contract and play that into it. I think he'll ultimately end up still being a Steeler, but I'm loving all of the conversation. I'm loving all of the trade talks because this thing could stretch into the season. And, we'd love to see TJ Watt not on the field if you're a Browns fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd love to see him out of the division, probably out of the conference. I've talked about actually a video coming out, depending on when some of you guys are seeing this, about potential trade destinations. I think Washington is real. I think the Rams are real, believe it or not. I think those would be two that could do it. But honestly,
Washington would be crazy.
Washington would be crazy. They need some run support. And the Rams, I think they're just not afraid to lean into their roster. And they have a ton of money the next couple of years. But what's interesting is the Steelers do too. And they now, like, you saw on socials this big thing about Jalen Ramsey getting a raise from the Steelers, which technically is true. But Ramsey's contract is so backloaded that the first couple years, it is not the $26 million or whatever number it was. It is not that. It's less than half of that. And Jonnu Smith coming in isn't a wild cap hit. What they do in terms of his extension is going to be interesting. But the reality is the Steelers could front load TJ's contract, get him paid with a big signing bonus, a bunch of guaranteed money, and push it all to right now up front, and then they're off the hook for Aaron Rodgers next year. Alex Highsmith is a free agent. I believe next year they'll have to make some decisions there, but I can't agree with the people who are saying that because of this trade, it's impossible to pay TJ Watt. That's not the case. It actually helps, in my opinion, if they want to front load TJ Watt's contract. But regardless, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think we can agree, got a little bit better because of this trade. Are they better than the Cincinnati Bengals? That's a debate for another time, and we know when they play Cleveland, anything can happen. We are going to move on to talk more about the Browns, move outside the other three teams in the AFC North with the stadium news. Brook Park move official up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And in 4 years, the Cleveland Browns will be in Brook Park. It is official, signed by Governor DeWine. And now it's a ticking time bomb on downtown because the Cleveland Browns have a future new home in Brook Park away from the lake. Zay, we've been talking about this for the past couple of months and have been in agreement that it's probably going to happen. Last week, the legal stuff made it even more likely. We just needed that final signature. We got it. And now we're moving to Brook Park. Initial reaction, were you surprised at any of the new renderings? Were you surprised at any of the reaction from the fans? What did you think when the official news broke? And the Browns tweeted off probably 20 clips of Jimmy Haslam talking about it in the stadium. What was your initial reaction?
LeBron James 2012, it's about damn time. Listen, I've already known, we talked about this time and time and time again. There were just too many signs showing that this was basically the inevitable. It was kind of like trying to stop Thanos the first time, and then you like that call into the to take it to court was them getting it, and then next thing you know, Thanos snaps his finger and he replays the time, and then it's like, oh, it never happened. Like, we all knew what the end result was going to be. Brook Park was always going to happen. Yeah. I'm just ready for that wave of excitement to hit. Obviously, there's going to be back and forth for the next few years with the fan base of, oh, it should have stayed downtown, shouldn't have moved it, da-da-da-da, but I can't wait to get that feel building up to it, to see how excited fans are going to be, to see how many people are actually going to be down at Brook Park, and are people going to still be downtown tailgating somewhere? That's going to be the big question. I know there's plans the Muni Lot might not even be there once they go to the lakefront period, like they're going to redo all of that. But I wonder if they had when they don't touch it, will there still be people tailgating in the Muni lot?
I don't know. I saw some ideas floating around about a potential RTA station near or
Hmm.
closer to the Muni lot. I
Well,
think that
that
would
train
help.
right there.
Can that get you to Brook Park though?
I think it does. I think that was one of the things that they were talking about, that it's a straight line.
Well, I think a lot of people would have trouble rationalizing tailgating in the Muni lot and taking a train, however, 20 minutes driving, so however, who knows how
Hmm.
long that is, to Brook Park to watch a game. Now, I do think there's a contingent of people who would tailgate downtown at the Muni lot and go watch the game on West 6th or West Ninth or any of those bars down there. But if there's a big lot, I mean, fans are going to want to get drunk outside the stadium in that lot, not 20 minutes away and have to worry about logistics like that. So I don't
What about
know.
just the OG fans who's like, I don't want to move from downtown. I'm staying here.
They're going to exist. They are going to exist, which is it's good and it's bad. It has its pros and it has its cons. But at the same time, this is going to be better for the local community, right? It's going to create more. It's going to create more jobs. It's going to hopefully bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland pretty soon. It's going to uplift local businesses around the stadium, depending on what they put in. It's an overall good thing for Northeast Ohio. I think that's the reality of it. And you still have the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati down south. Ohio football will be better because of it. That's where my mind is at, because another part of this whole bill was the settlement for the Bengals to redo their stadium, redo Paycor, and stay down there too. So Northeast Ohio football is going to be great with the renovations of Cleveland. Ohio football in general really isn't going to change because Cincinnati's staying there. And I think more people are coming around to the idea of Brook Park, not necessarily the Dome, Brook Park, because it looks so good. You listen to Jimmy Haslam talk about it from a business standpoint. He makes a lot of sense. Everybody is slowly getting on the same page, I think.
This thing could be a massive grand slam if they knock out the renovations to downtown, whatever they do at the stadium. Like, if they can figure out how to turn that into a main attraction, like, all right, yeah, we can hit the Rock Hall, we can hit the Science Center, then we can walk down to the boardwalk on the shore, and we can do the Ferris wheel, we can do this, we can do that. Like, if they could turn it into something to where it's like, oh, it's a random Saturday night. Let's go downtown Cleveland and have some fun. Like, I think this could be so massive. I think the first wave I heard, there's gonna be the first wave, so there's gonna be two construction points, in terms of getting that whole thing built down. And the first wave will be the hotels. There'll be a couple shops that I think are opened up, apartment complexes. I think will all be ready for that first stretch of 2029. So it's going to be super exciting to see, especially I can't imagine what that view is going to look like coming into the airport and just seeing everything literally right there.
Yeah, that is going to be really cool. And I don't know if you've ever been on a plane coming back to Cleveland where you've seen the current
Hmm.
stadium. It's still so cool, but now imagine it. You're even closer to the ground now, landing at Cleveland Hopkins. It'd be really cool. I want to ask you, Zay, if you could put any store or any shop in that Brook Park mall area, I guess, what would it be? It doesn't have to be a chain, just anything that you think Browns fans could benefit from that may not already be downtown. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Easiest answer in my life. Honor the Land Studio
Ah,
right there.
good answer. Yeah,
Live
good answer.
coverage
Media
going
trained answer.
crazy.
There we go. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think, honestly, empowering the local media down there will be a very logical step. What that looks like, we wait to see. But I don't know. I think just thinking about the experience downtown right now, the I don't want to complain about a 10-minute walk, but the closest bars are a 10-minute ish walk from the stadium, at least that I could think of. And the reality with those bars, the reason a lot of people go to, you know, the dive bars, the map rooms, all those, is because they're cheap. I need a pub. Like, I need a classic Irish pub within, I don't know how big Browns land will be, but within a mile of the stadium. If you can put an Irish pub with solid food, drinks that won't break the bank, you can get a nice little buzz before you walk into the stadium, that would be beautiful. And I honestly think that would rid a lot of Browns fans of the worry of paying so much for just drinking at a game or eating at a game. That's the reality. It's going to be a lot of money. That's the reality of it. I don't know if you've ever been to, I'm trying to think of the more commercial stadiums like MetLife, New York, I've been to a bunch. It is so expensive to do anything there, to eat, to drink, literally anything inside the stadium. Last season, like Cincinnati's one that sticks out as very cheap. It's a stadium very similar to Cleveland's, I think. There are two types of stadiums, and the people that are more willing to pay for a drink inside the stadium may not care as much, but if you're going to a map room and getting a pitcher of beer for however much, it might run you triple in the stadium. And I think if there was an option for people to enjoy themselves, have good food, good drinks, similar to a pub within a mile of the stadium, people would absolutely be more open to the idea.
And that's probably not going to happen, like, if we're being honest, right? Like, this is all going to be massive change. You'll probably get one store or one bar or something that's kind of like partnered with the Haslams or partnered with the Browns. And that's the one thing that I am kind of worried about is like, yeah, they're going to put all these shiny new toys down there in Cleveland, but then they're just going to price everybody out. And it's just going to be like, I don't want it to be too uppity because Cleveland's not an uppity state. Like, we're not, oh my God, we're not like, oh my God, this is 3 years old, so we got to throw this away. Like we're that gritty town. So like I hope that they can make it affordable. I hope they can make it fun. I hope they don't price out the diehards because ultimately that's what keeps this fan base the way that they are the diehards. You don't want to price them out.
Absolutely. And I think another key piece of keeping the diehard fans involved is the roster they're going to put out week 1 in 2029, which we're going to predict up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And we are going to do our very best right now to predict the 2029 Browns starting offense. Quarterback, running back, 2 receivers, a tight end, and then any utility offensive position we want. See if we can get any of these right 4 years down the line. Everybody is looking at 2029 for the stadium, the renovations, the dome, but nobody is talking about what the product on the field is going to look like week 1, that first snap, opening day. Zay, I will let you go first. You can pick any position you want. We're not going to do a draft here. We're just going to read off our lists. But I'll let you start. Who is, let's say, who's under center week 1 for the Browns, week 1, 2029, Brook Park?
We gotta have. I mean, I'm taking your with Shador.
Yeah,
what
we gotta have. Okay, same answer.
Better be. What I think about the Shador thing, though, which is so interesting, is like they really can play this, so they don't have to see Shador this year, and I think we need to get into that a lot more, in a different episode. But like, if they do this right, you could theoretically come into Brook Park without really seeing what you have in Shador Sanders. And is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know.
Probably a bad thing.
Will the juice last that long? Obviously, it won't be 4 years before we see Shador, but like, we could be talking about not seeing Shador next year, and then maybe next year him giving us that little hype, and then it's like, oh my gosh, he's our future. You know what I mean? But we can get into that later.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I think Shador. I think it would almost be a mistake in the Browns world to not roll somebody out like that week 1. The only interesting thing here is, what does that look like in terms of your rookie quarterback deal? Because Shador Sanders obviously will be on his rookie deal in 4 years. Are you drafting another guy to supplant him? Obviously, you have 2 first-round picks this year. You're going to have more first-round picks, 2027, 2028 beforehand. Are you going to pull the trigger drafting somebody? Because the reality is, it's more likely than not that we see Shador Sanders in the next 2 years, and I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you can feel pretty confident about what you have. And if he doesn't play well, they're going to look in a different direction. I don't think it'd be somebody that's already on the roster like Dylan Gabriel. But I think in a perfect world, Shador Sanders does roll out week 1, 2029 for the Cleveland Browns. My running back, I'm going to stick with Quinshon Judkins. I think this is a guy who is Ohio through and through. That's kind of the theme of my list, but Ohio through and through that is going to come in, have a really good rookie year, and ultimately win the fan base over by his work. Like, it's hard to compare anybody to Nick Chubb, especially because of the person that he is. But to me, Quinshon Judkins is very similar, at least what we've seen in the offseason with the clips of him in the facility, interacting with people. Very humble, ready to work, and kind of just does the dirty work without complaining. In Ohio State, there were games where Travion Henderson got the bulk of the workload, and at least from the outside looking in, he didn't say anything about it. He is a team-first guy. That's what it seems like. And in Kevin Stefanski's offense, you almost have to be. I think Quinshon Judkins lines up at running back for the Browns, week 1, 2029.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, Quinshon, on that one as well, too. If he's anything like we imagine, or what they expect in terms of what we've seen, why Nick Chubb's not on the roster anymore. Judkins is going to be here for the foreseeable future, and I don't think there's anything else about it. I'm pretty sure we're on the same page here with Jeremiah Smith. How he
Yes.
gets here, though,
Yeah.
how he gets here, we got to trade both of our two first round picks to go get him next year, right? Isn't that what it's going to take? Or
I
unless
don't.
we just
I
fall out
honestly don't
suck?
think so. I think it. I don't wish this, but I think there's a world where the Browns are that bad this year, where they're picking top 3, and
Oh no.
there's going to be Arch Manning. You don't know who is going to be 1, 2, who's going to be trading up, trading down. I think if the Browns are in the top 3, it's going to be a dramatic push to get Jeremiah Smith. And as much as I hate to say it, there's a world where either the Browns or the Jaguars finish with 4 wins. I think that's a reality because remember the
What if
Browns
they
do have the
both finish with
Jaguars.
4?
Well, I can tell you what, if they both finish with 4, it's going to be an insane trade scenario. They can move up because if they finish with 4 wins, they probably won't have the number 1 overall pick. But if they're at 3 or 4 and they want to get up, the team in front of them knows they're going to take Jeremiah Smith. Would it take both those picks? I don't know. That's a crazy hypothetical. But I'm with you. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 for me. I'm going to lean back into Jamari Thrash. I think you can look at what he's done in the offseason, what everybody has been saying about him. There was a quote that was released today, Thursday, when you guys are watching this, from Kevin Stefanski, but Adam Schefter put it out, talking about how the Browns can use Jamari Thrash in different ways. I think a lot of us think of Jamari Thrash as a slighter, lighter guy who we automatically pigeonhole into the slot. Like, we don't think of him as this outside guy. And he's not. He's not a huge, big-bodied guy like Cedric Tillman, but it doesn't mean he can't be serviceable out there. Jerry Jeudy had a ton of success last year playing inside, and I'll take Jerry Jeudy over any team's best nickel any day of the week, especially if it's one-on-one man coverage. If you can flex Jamari Thrash out wide and let him do different things, your offense is going to get better because of it. It's just the development for him at that point. Where does that go? That we wait to see, but I think this year is a huge step for Jamari Thrash in taking that next step, and we've also seen Andrew Berry is very, very cognizant of getting ahead of contracts. To me, Jamari Thrash could be a guy they get ahead of sooner rather than later.
We're gonna have some fun.
Let's do it.
Bring T. Higgins to the top of Ohio. He'll be a free agent in 2029. I'm sure there'll probably be rumbles for him wanting some more money. Will he solidify himself as that number 1, or will he always be a number 2 in these eyes? And if he's gonna be a number 2, I can see Andrew Berry looking and being like, you know what? He may have a little something left. He
Wow.
can be that iconic move. Let's bring in T. Higgins and let's show them. Let's give him a little bit of money and let's see what T can do in Northeast Ohio
Wow.
instead of Kentucky.
I like that. And that is a big outside guy that the Browns really haven't had. I like that a lot. That's a great call. All right. Is your utility player a tight end or a receiver?
Um, to be determined.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with my tight end and Harold Fannin Jr. I think he sticks around. I'm going Ohio through. Is that who you also had?
Well, yeah, that's got to be David. Does
I
David
had this
Njoku
hard
make it through another year?
I had that hard conversation with myself. I don't think so. He's going to be, let me look up his age real quick. I believe he will be 31 if I'm not mistaken. But the reality with David Njoku is he'd be 32. The reality with David Njoku is that's an old age for a tight end. And as somebody who more banks on his athleticism than his technical skills at the tight end position, it's hard to see him on a younger, hopefully more promising roster in 4 years. You don't know. You've seen the taper off with a guy like Travis Kelce, who's also, hasn't leaned too much into his athleticism, but has relied on that technical ability and his precision running routes to prolong his career. Maybe David Njoku moves in that world, but he's also a different build. He's a different type of player. So I don't think David Njoku, it's hard to say, it's hard to predict, but 4 years from now, I'll stray away and say Harold Fannin Jr., but I will bring another tight end in from Pennsylvania, committed to Penn State, class of 2025, Andrew Olesh, Olesh. This is a guy who I think you come out of Penn State, a school that notoriously has produced guys that are good in the run game. Like, I think back to Pat Freiermuth as somebody, but also Tyler Warren this year. And I think Andrew Olesh could be up next in that world. And that is if he stays in college, probably a year or two into his rookie contract. But that's who I'm rolling with at my utility, my second tight end.
Can I not do a utility and can I have another fun pick for you?
Let's do it.
because this kind of goes right into what the Browns always do in finding themselves an unreal lineman. Did you see the clip of Brandon Jacobs' son?
Oh yeah.
This dude is a freaking monster.
Yeah.
They had him standing next to Brandon Jacobs. I can just picture this guy being, imagine DeJuan Jones on one side and then this other freak on the other side. Like
Yeah.
the Browns always find a way to get themselves a lineman that they don't have to worry about for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Give me Brandon Jacobs'
I
son
like that.
as that guy because I mean, damn, who doesn't want a 6'8" behemoth?
No, I like that a lot. That's a great call, and I think on the other side of DeJuan Jones, if DeJuan Jones is still here, it'd be great. Shout out Brandon Jacobs. Shout out Earth, Wind, and Fire, those 2011 New York Giants, if I'm not mistaken. But an
Fun team
awesome,
to play with in
awesome.
Madden.
Yeah, those are the running backs I found in my childhood. But 2029, there are going to be a lot of new faces in the Browns offense. Those are our predictions for 2029. Week 1, snap 1, first play of the Browns offense in Brook Park. We're going to move on to Around the Land, our Q&A segment, up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and this is Around the Land, our mailbag Q&A segment where we take your questions across socials at Honor the Land, exactly how you see it below on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Pat, I'm going to kick it to you for the first question about the wonderful Diontae Johnson.
The one and only. Guys, do you think Diontae Johnson makes it through the full season? That comes from Luke Varnsdale.
I think he does. It's almost like we're hoping for Deontay Johnson to fail in a sense, and I know he's not off to the right foot here, and I think this is gonna kind of come with the territory. You know, not really wanting it to come with the territory, but I think it's coming with the territory. And I think once he gets on the field and he sees that this number 2 slot is wide open, the targets are going to be there for him. So as long as he's getting his shared targets and he's an emphasis in the game plan, which I'm sure Kevin Stefanski, I mean, we like to give Kevin Stefanski a lot of crap. But you know, you go back in recent years and you watch up how he schemes up guys. This is right up his alley, man. A guy who can just go out there and beat your defender one-on-one, find the open space, sit in the open gap. I think Diontae Johnson is going to actually, I don't want to say thrive, but I think he's going to be better than what people expect. So I think he'll make it through the full year, and I think he'll surprise a lot of people along the way.
I agree in the sense he's going to be better than people expect, but I think the expectations have just been so low because of what happened last year. And then they got even lower because of what's happened the past 2 months. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was possible for a guy who was on 5 teams in 2 years, has been on 5 teams in 2 years, to come in and rub a fan base even worse of a way. The whole interview thing, to me, we talked about it last week. It's blown out of proportion a little bit. I was more, honestly, I was more thrown off by him not showing up to OTAs than that interview. This is a guy who, we've talked about it as an opportunity deal. We've talked about it as a prove it deal. Your ultimate first opportunity to prove, putting those together, you're not showing up. I know it's optional. I know it's organized team activities that you don't have to be at, but like, you have an opportunity to put your best foot forward. Sometimes we don't know why people don't go to OTAs, but if there was no reason that he couldn't be there, that rubbed me the wrong way. I do think he makes it through the season, but I do think there's a real world where if he comes in and he does thrive, the Browns ship him off. I think they could trade him and get somebody for him middle of the season. Receivers, knock on wood, nobody ever gets hurt, but receivers tend to go down. We saw it a bunch last year, midseason trades. That was the reason Diontae Johnson got traded in the middle of last season, right? The Baltimore Ravens wanted, or was it the Texans or the Ravens who got him first?
I believe the Ravens. He found himself back to the Ravens after the Texans, right?
I believe so. Regardless of who it was a team, because Tank Dell went down and the Ravens needed receiver help. That needed a receiver. And it didn't work out. Then he goes the other. There's a world where it works out in Cleveland. All of the distractions and the off-the-field stuff can't follow along if we want it to work. That's the reality of it. But there is another guy.
Move on,
go ahead.
Before we move on to our second question real quick, TJ Watt's new deal will likely surpass the extension that the Browns gave Myles Garrett per Tom Paracero. This is from one of those one accounts. I didn't see Paracelo actually say that, but is he going to get more than $40 million? Is that what it's looking like?
Yeah, I think anybody would be foolish to pay him that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's one thing. It's one thing to pay a younger guy like Myles Garrett and Max Crosby that. It's another thing to pay an aging superstar, and TJ Watt's a superstar. He's one of the 20 best players in the NFL. Some would argue 10 best players in the NFL. It's another thing to pay a guy like that who's 30, who dealt with injuries last year, and Steelers fans will be the first to say this along with me, who disappeared at the end of the season, guys. He disappeared.
Careful.
Well, you know what? Steelers fans already think I have the vendetta against them, and the reality is I think a win now Super Bowl caliber team would prop TJ Watt up to have a better year than he would in Pittsburgh. That's why I think a trade and an extension, I keep going back to the Rams. The Rams are a real possibility. I'm convinced Les Snead is working the phones. But regardless, if TJ Watt does get paid that, it's not to say he doesn't deserve to get paid like one of the best edge rushers or the best edge rusher in the NFL, but to surpass a younger, more athletic talent who has a little more long-term potential, that for me, I'm like, I don't know how much I believe in that, especially on the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the roster.
Well, won't it hinder them in the money aspects too? So maybe do we kind of want this? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's set the Steelers back, but like financially they'd be latched down the next couple years. That's the reality with it with TJ Watt. I do think there's a world where Omar Khan, who by the way just got a 3-year extension in Pittsburgh, front loads it and gives him a bunch of guaranteed money, hefty signing bonus, and gets a lot of that contract on the books now. He's going to have to restructure some things, but now and next year. But we wait to see. I do want to talk about another edge rusher, though, an edge rusher that is coming into the Browns. Pat, I'll kick it to you for our second question.
Yeah, guys, last question here. Will Joe Tryon-Shoyinka have a bigger role?
Looked at Joe Tryon-Shoyinka this offseason, and I saw him as a more athletic, wide nine guy who can get after the quarterback. And I thought he was going to be the Obo Okoronkwo in 2023 when you already had a second guy in Zadarius Smith. And I thought Obo Okoronkwo was going to be the Zadarius Smith. I don't know if we'll start calling him JTS. That's what we're going to start calling him, JTS. I don't know if JTS is an every down guy. Truthfully, I don't think he is. But Alex Wright probably is, or a majority of the snap guy. Isaiah McGuire might be. So I still if I could give Joe Tryon-Shoyinka a role compared to edge defenders for the Browns the past 5 years, it would literally be Obo Okoronkwo 2 years ago. I don't really think that changes too much with Obo leaving.
No, yeah, I think I agree with that 100%. You know, the Browns roster, I think we could talk about this in a later show as well. The Browns defensive roster just reminds me so much of what the Eagles are trying to do. I mean, their front, they're Isaiah McGuire, Malik Collins, Mason Graham, Myles Garrett, Alex Wright, Mike Hall, Shelby Harris, JTS, Devin Bush. That's obviously the wrong thing, but like they have 8 guys that they are going to be able to rotate on this line. And when you have the ability to do that, okay, it's one thing to know that you've got a young and up and coming Isaiah McGuire. You got a young stud in Mason Graham who could be the next elite defensive tackle. But then, oh, by the way, you got to deal with Myles Garrett. And then it's like, okay, fresh set of legs comes in. You got to deal with Alex Wright, who was breaking out into his own and being one of the better pass rushers. Then you have Mike Hall, who has been mimicked to be Aaron Donald. And then you have Shelby Harris, who's a vet. Like, they have so many guys right now that they can just rotate in and out. And I think we mentioned the word just a little bit ago with Diontae Johnson. The opportunities are going to be plethora for everybody that's not Myles Garrett because we have so many bodies and so many fresh legs to go around. So will he be a big role like Obo? No, I think you said it perfectly. He'll be just like what Obo was in 2023, a guy that can put a lot of pressure on that outside, and a guy who is going to look up and you'll be like, oh, he got himself a sack or two this week, and maybe a few weeks later he got himself another sack or two. They're all going to have an intricate role this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's hard to look at the roster and say the Browns have a true number 2. Everybody's going to have to pull their weight. I think that's the reality of it, even though there are guys like Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire who have produced in the past. I also don't think it's a coincidence that the Browns brought in a raw athletic edge rusher to learn from the best, the most raw, the most athletic edge rusher in the NFL. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Myles Garrett will be able to take him under his wing, and mentoring a defensive lineman or an edge rusher as another edge rusher is very different than a quarterback mentoring another quarterback, because the other edge rushers aren't really trying to take your job. They're actually trying to make your life easier. And I think if somebody can do that, whether it's JTS or Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire, the Browns defensive line, and Myles Garrett will be in a better situation because of it. So I think Myles Garrett will be able to take him under his wing and almost embrace doing it to make him the best possible edge rusher, banking on his athleticism. That's the reality of it. So we both agree he's going to have to step up, but so are the other guys, and that's going to be the theme of the 2025 season. Everybody's going to have to pull their weight. Everybody's going to have to chip in and do their job. We're going to finish up here up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay, and we're going to wrap up here on Thursday, July 3rd when you're watching this. Got a very busy weekend for both of us. We talked about our July 4th plans and what we like to do last week, but the past couple weeks have been so busy, so hectic that we haven't even gotten the chance to show you a bunch of stuff that we have been doing. Zay, you were at the charity softball game. Before we talk about that, Shedeur Sanders was also there. Social clips circulating everywhere of him showing up. Being with security. There was a lot going on. I mean, that's the reality of it when you are that polarizing of a person, not even a player. Were there any interactions you had with him? Did you see him at the game?
I had one interaction with him, and it was at the end of the game because I had my Shedeur Sanders jersey there in hopes of getting that signed so I can frame it.
Yeah.
And I think he has an obligation to not sign. Like, I don't know if he has a contract or he has a deal or something where he can't sign autographs, but he didn't sign one single autograph. But he did see my jersey. He did see me. He said that was hard. But it was cool to see him up close and personal and just see him interact with all the fans and stuff like that. Took a bunch of pictures with the kids, which is always fun. And again, anytime you go to one of those charity softball games, it's a great time if you've never been.
Yeah, and you also had some great interactions with the kids there too. I saw either a picture or a video of the fans coming up and taking pictures with you, asking for your autograph. Was that the first autograph you ever signed?
Surprisingly, no.
Whoa,
which is
okay.
crazy. My first batch of autographs I ever signed was, I believe, I don't know if it was before this preseason game. I might have done one or two, but the first time I signed a lot of autographs was, I think it was the first preseason game in the Muni lot. There was a group of kids that I signed for, but that was crazy. Pat was there, and he, like, just when we were walking down to the thing, we turned the corner, and it was just Chef Zay's from every direction. So it was pretty cool. Shout out to the fans,
That's
man.
awesome.
Whenever you guys see me, don't be afraid to say what's up to your boy.
Hell yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing you all again, soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next couple weeks, really, there isn't too much going on for us to see you at. But as training camp goes around, I know we'll be there for some days. We will see you. Before we wrap up, though, there's a big elephant in the room in the news world. Not necessarily Browns related, but Cleveland sports related. It's LeBron James, right? We saw him golfing, or reportedly golfing. Shout out to McNeil and his DMs. Reportedly golfing, I believe in Akron at Portage. And I mean, everything, all rumors flew everywhere. That's the reality of it. Now, a buyout is a real thing. A trade is a real thing. It could happen. He opted in. That's the reality. But we're going to do this every week till something happens, Zay. This time next week, when we record our next episode, where will LeBron James be?
LeBron will be in LA next week. Now, see, the thing what you got to know about LeBron is that he will take this to the very end of the bridge. On the movies, particularly, let's just go Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise always finds a way to defuse the bomb with like 10 seconds left. That's going to be LeBron James. And I will say this, while I say he's in LA now, it always is weird when you hear when there's something going around LeBron, you can kind of get a feel for when a wind is about to change.
Mm-hmm.
Something is going to happen. Now, the big question I think is, do you want to take this stab with the Cavaliers with the team that you currently have or without LeBron? Or do you want to go with the King one last time and potentially ruin any future aspirations, or at least the rebuild, have to go through another rebuild again? I think that's the $1 million question, because I don't even know if I can answer that yet. What say you? Do you want to do it with LeBron again, or do it without? I know you're a Boston guy.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Yes or no answer. You think the roster the Cavs have right now is good enough to win an NBA title? Yes or no? And the fact that you're shaking your head tells me my answer.
I want to say yes so bad, but after seeing this past year, no.
Yeah, it's not. That's the reality of it. Something has to change. Now, I will say, because the East is weaker without Tatum, without Halliburton. I mean, the Bucks loaded up. The Bucks are going to be good, but this is the best shot they got. It would just be that much better with LeBron James. this year. And I think that's the reality, especially with all the second apron stuff. The NBA is changing. Teams are changing more rapidly now. I think it's worth the shot. I don't know what it would take, but I'm going to say LeBron James is bought out this time next week. I think he's a free agent. Like, I think he's going to do the LeBron tour or whatever it is, the decision part too. Again, that's the reality of it. But we wait to see. We don't know what's going to happen.
How does that work with Bronny?
He's going to stay in LA. I don't know if you saw the interview, but Bronny said he doesn't really pay attention to that stuff, which honestly, truthfully, I respect that. I can respect the hell out of that for Bronny for that answer. I love it.
His dad's LeBron. He's PR trained. He knows what
Oh, absolutely. And he's had to be being drafted the same like he's had to be. But regardless, we wait to see what happens with LeBron. Hopefully he does come to Cleveland for the smallest cost possible. But we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you listening. We will see you next time on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network.